Welcome to part 7 of our live training process here with our sport front-wheel drive Acura Integra running on an Emtron SL8 standalone ECU. In our last tutorial, we completed the full throttle calibration process off the wastegate spring level. Now in this tutorial, we're going to be focusing on enabling our boost control solenoid and going through the open loop and possibly the closed loop boost control tuning procedure, learning how to calibrate everything within the boost control so it hits the desired target that we're programming, and then also learning how to integrate both fuel and spark timing changes, making sure everything's safe as we turn up the boost pressure. We're going to have a lot to cover. Let's jump in so we can check this out. Welcome back to our live training session here with our sport front-wheel drive Acura Integra. Our last video we focused on our full throttle tuning specifically of our wastegate spring level. Now we're ready to turn up the boost using a boost control solenoid. We're going to look at open loop boost control in this tutorial. We'll see how it's going to control, we'll see how it's going to respond. If everything looks good, then we may introduce closed loop style boost control on a race car like this, because I'm going to be in the actual car between rounds or taking a look at data logs almost every single pass. The closed loop boost control isn't absolutely needed. We can run open loop and then make manual adjustments to the open loop boost control table or the initial position valve table. We'll talk about what that represents here in just a little bit. We can go in and make manual adjustments ourselves, so we don't need to rely on the Emtron making these closed loop adjustments. But the closed loop control is there, and it is something that you may want to consider using. So we may or may not be able to take a look at that depending on how sensitive the duty cycle to PSI is going to be in terms of our boost control. We'll figure that out here in this tutorial. Now, before we jump in and turn up the boost control solenoid and start to take a look at the boost control tables, I want to talk about something very specifically. We actually need to go and do another pull off of our wastegate spring level. I noticed after filming the last training session, I went over the car, just double checking everything, making sure I didn't see any leaks or any potential problems with the car before we started to film this particular tutorial here. I noticed that off of the compressor cover, the pressure source line that would normally go into the boost control solenoid, also to the lower port of the wastegate, was loose in the fitting, and it wasn't retaining the actual push lock line very well. Well, in that situation, that can create some overboosting or boost creeping, as we were seeing in that previous tutorial. So what we're gonna have to do here is do another baseline pull to figure out where we're actually at off of the wastegate spring, so we have a little bit better idea of how things are going to be controlling. It may not make any difference, but I changed out that fitting and reseated the line, so it should hopefully be much better now. We want to get that baseline established before we turn up the actual boost control here in this tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to do a quick pull, see where we're at, and then we can move forward into taking a look at the boost control tables, because we need to know our wastegate spring level. It's always super important that we have that established before we go into the initial position table, which is our feed forward duty cycle table, and setting our target boost up. We need to know what the minimum boost we can control at is going to be. In this case, we have a 15 pound spring in the gate. We should see it holding right around there. We were getting boost creep up to 250, 260 kPa in that previous tutorial. So let's see what's going to happen here. I'm going to go ahead, throw my headphones on. I'm going to fire up the engine. I'm going to do the pull. I'm not going to talk while I'm doing any of this because, again, the car is super loud, as we found in the last couple tutorials. I can't talk over this car, but we will do the pull. I'll shut everything down, and we'll take a look at the log data and see where we're at and see if we have any improvement by reseating that line and changing that actual push lock fitting. Now, I do want to go in and mention here, I am not a fan of push lock fittings. They fail frequently, especially with heat and vibration. On a race car like this, it's almost going to be guaranteed that you're going to have a failure with the line. So I'm not a big fan of them. It is what it is. This car has the fittings on there already. I would personally run braided line, as you'd find like on a feed line for a turbocharger, or I would run brake line, that's a hard line, with AN fittings, because both of those options are much better for vibration and heat resistance than these push lock lines. So not a big fan of them, but this is kind of the nature of the territory with those particular fittings and lines. So hopefully this is going to correct our problem. It's going to make some improvement. Let's go ahead and fire it up right now, and let's see what this is going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and throw my headphones on. Let's kick the water pump on. Let's fire it up.
it sounded really good there off the wastegate spring. Let's take a look at the graph real quick, see if it made any difference. Looking at the power, we did pick up some power actually. So the previous pulls here, looking at this dotted pink line, that was the previous pulls from the last tutorial off of the wastegate spring. I think it was the very last pull. We kept improving our power as we made refinements and adjustments to the fuel and spark timing. We're going to see here we actually made a little bit more power. So we're now at 311 torque and almost 560 horsepower. Now let's see what the boost did by reseating that line and changing that fitting out. So we can find here the boost goes from about 200 kPa, that's our wastegate spring level, and then it creeps up here to 220 kPa. That's not bad. Previously, we were getting more boost creep. So that line, I suspect, was actually causing a problem, and that was most likely causing that boost creep that we were seeing in that last tutorial. So this looks much better. A small amount of boost creep is reasonable. 10, 20 kPa isn't bad from where...
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.